Hey traders, Michael or Mini Frost here. You're here for another episode of Common Sense Market Analysis. Today's Turnaround Tuesday, August 12th, 2025. You're looking at a daily chart of the SPY or spiders, which is the proxy for the S&P 500. What do we have on the docket today? Well, we got a ton of stuff on the docket today, but first, let's go over that she's up 1.06%, and we had CPI data this morning. And you already know that the talking heads on TV and the big media groups are saying that the reason for this up move was because of CPI data. And let me tell you this, that's a whole bunch of horseshit. They like to plug in the reasons after the fact. There's no real reason as to why the market went up today. There could be a multitude of different reasons as to why we had this movement today, but the media and the talking heads are just going to go with what seems the most reasonable for that day. And today we had CPI data, so that's what they're going to say. They're going to blame this movement on CPI. They plug it in after the fact. There's no real way of telling if it was CPI data or not. They do it countless times over and over again. This isn't their first rodeo doing this, but all you need to know is that the market moves because the market moves. Simple as that. We don't need to dive into the reasons as to why we had a 1% update today. We're never going to know the real reason why. But just know that the big talking heads on TV, they're going to go with whatever makes the most sense that day. And they're all full of poop. We're above all the moving averages, so the trend is your friend. She's currently doing option number 2. She poked her head above the most recent all-time high. And now the next target is a big fat round number at 645. If we get above that, then we have another big fat even round number at 650. You best believe that those are going to be important targets on the upside. And obviously we're going to have more intraday targets like we did today for inside the numbers and live room members. Those numbers will be ready. Real quick, lazy swing trader intermission break. The algo system has been on full auto recently. She's been picking up entry targets and profit targets over the past few days. Yesterday, I believe we had 4 new entry targets, and one of them have already reached its first profit target. We got JBHT, JB Hunt Transportation Services. She reached her first profit target today. She's up 4.36%, and we already got a nice little risk-free, emotionless trade going. Pretty much nailed the low, and I think that deserves a how you doing. But that's not all. We got second profit target alert for TXN, Texas Instruments Incorporated. She's up 5.33%. I told you that the lazy swing trader has been on absolute full auto recently. So we got 2 nice profit targets in the books today. And not to mention, we already got members in my email inbox telling me about these trades that they're taking for the lazy swing trader, already making their money back plus profit on the first few trades. If you're still debating on whether to get the lazy swing trader, now is the best time while it's hot. She's firing out new entry targets, new profit targets, and we still got a ton of stuff on the watch list for new trading opportunities. If you want a little taste of this system, go to the link in the description and you could sign up and get a free swing trade from our system. There's no catch, no strings attached, totally free. We give you a trade from the system itself so you can see if it's worth it for you. Link in the description below. So let's just clear up some of the noise on the weekly chart. We got the targets on the upside. We got 645, big fat round number, and 650, an even bigger big fat round number. If you've taken the masterclass or the e-mini course, you know how important these numbers are. They're magnetic, they're important numbers in itself. So generally speaking, if we are in a strong position, which we currently are, these are targets on the upside. Whether she wants to use these numbers as overhead resistance, we'll have to wait and find out, but these are certainly targets at the bare minimum. Let's go ahead and take a look at inside the numbers, starting with the 0 dark 30 stuff. As you guys know, these are notes written well before the market even opens, so that not only are you prepared for the morning session, but you're also confident going into the morning session. And as we know, confidence in trading is essential. So let's go ahead and start with the morning pivot today, coming in at 637.10. How you doing? Right at the vertical line is today's activity. Pivot is in green. And yes, this was another infamous pivot trade. It pays to know your pivots. We call it low of day. I think that deserves a funny how that works. If you're going into trading, especially the S&P, you need to know your pivots. If you don't, I highly recommend a way to figure out your pivots. Hint, hint, inside the numbers / live room. By the way, we had Michael take this pivot trade and some other trades intraday. He's up 15K all up, done in 50 minutes. How are you doing, Michael? And by the way, please feel free to email me about this type of stuff, whether you want to share a successful trade you had, or if you have a question, or even if you just want to say how you doing. I love interacting with you guys. I love receiving emails like this. It's one of my favorite things. It makes me feel happy and it makes me think that I'm doing you guys right. So please feel free to reach out whenever. Alright, so that was the main trade that we had this morning. We had some other stuff going on. If we scroll up a bit at around 10:15, getting back above 638.80, she's bullish and will want to make a run towards the high and eventually 640.65. And then she can now use it as support on the way back down, which is exactly what she did. So we had some traders enjoy the ride, but let's go ahead and take a look at some key resistance levels on the way up. If we go back to the 0 dark 30 notes, it's all laid out for you. The next target on the upside is towards 640.65, and the bigger target up above is at 642.55. Midpoint number between the two at 641.50. So we put the numbers up on the board. These weren't necessarily trades. These were definitely trader's choice if you wanted to take a little stab at it. But we didn't necessarily call it out to be a specific trade on the board because most people were long either from the pivot or long from using the 638 as support on the way back down. Here was the 638.90 number. She got above it, touched it, and used support on the way down. So we were pretty much long, but these three numbers were targets on the upside. So let's see what she did. First number, 640.65, caught a little bit of resistance off of it. Nothing too special. She went up to the midpoint number. She got above it, used it as support on the way back down. But as I said in the notes, the main target was 642.55. She spiked it by a few cents, and then she provided you a nice base hit. Base hits put you in the Hall of Fame. And as a little cherry on top, we had one stock on the move. We had CE, Celanese Corporation. We had two entry numbers. First one, 39.04, and the second one, 37.35. Let's go check it out. So we put the two entries on the board. She blew by the first one, but on the second one, spiked it by a little, and then guess what? Rocket ride, ripped it back in the other direction for a nice, beautiful trade. I think that deserves a how do you like dem apples? So we had a pivot trade this morning. We had two profit targets for LST. We had a stocks on the move, and we had a few other miscellaneous stuff on the board from the list of 12 markets that we offer. Pause the video, read the notes, and go back to the charts to double check the work. It's all in here, everything that you need to be a successful trader trading the S&P, Qs, IWM, gold, crude, it doesn't matter. We have an opportunity for everybody. If you're struggling with the numbers or a game plan entering the morning session, you need to come over and check it out. What about Camp IWM? She had a nice little rebound day today. She's up almost 3%. She was teetering on the upward trend line, closing candles above it, but she was pretty much right on it for the last few days. And then guess what? Today, she had a gap and go situation, and she made it to this trend line right here and poked her head above. So now we're back above all the moving averages. The trend is your friend. Getting above this downward trend line and closing candles above it, she's going to want to make another leg higher. We are getting close to the precipice where the two trend lines meet. When we do, that means that time is up and she's going to have to make her decision. But that doesn't mean she can't make her decision beforehand. This could be the start of making her decision right now. Will it stick? We don't really know. We're going to have to wait and see if we get some follow-through activity. But this could be the start of another leg higher. The other option is she goes back down into this channel and eats some more time off the clock. That's what we got for Camp IWM. What about the folks at the transportation department? She's up 3% as well, 2.99%. And guess what? We were below 3 out of the 4 moving averages, and now she finally reestablished price above the 50 and 200 period moving average. All that's left is this 20 period moving average, which we could easily get to tomorrow or later this week. That is another target on the board. And then you got this big time breakdown candle high. Now, like I said before, this line on the board, 15,430 give or take, is an important number. Staying above that is the bull case scenario. We started to close candles below, but today we had a nice rebound day, reestablishing price above some of the moving averages. So to conclude, Staying above this number is super important. We're testing these highs right here. Pretty much falls in line with the 20-period moving average, a little poke the head through, but she's back above that important number in a pretty decent position right now, and it will be interesting to see how she finishes the week. We still got a lot of time left this week. Anything can happen. There's nothing to do here. We're just going to have to wait and see. Patience is key. What about the Q people? She's looking pretty strong. She's up 1.26% today, continuing to make new all-time highs. We're above all the moving averages, so the trend is your friend. Just taking a look at the hourly chart, you can see she filled the gap and never looked back. Just so happens that that fell in line with the 20-period moving average. I don't necessarily use the moving averages on an intraday perspective. I mean, I do, but it's not something I'm going to pay attention to every single time. The moving averages are more useful on a larger time frame perspective. Remember that the larger time frames are always going to be more dominant than the smaller ones, but it's still something good to keep in the back pocket. But other than that, she had a little floater day today, grinding up, making new all-time highs. How high can she go? We don't really know. She can go until she doesn't want to anymore, or until we see a sign or signal of a trend change. Nothing really left to talk about for the Qs. Still lots of time left in the week, remember that. Staying above this big time breakdown candle high is the bull case scenario. She spiked down a little bit. She did use it as support on the way back down. So not only are these big time breakdown candle highs are important on the way up as overhead resistance, but they're also important on the way back down for support. So 574.54 is a key number. Put it on a sticky note. What about XLF, the financials? Well, it's about damn time. We've been talking about how there's unfinished business up above and there's unfinished business down below. She was pretty much smack right in the middle of the two numbers. So essentially, it was a waiting game to see which one she wanted to complete first. And today, she decided she wanted to complete the unfinished business at 52.37. That coincides with the 20-period moving average. That's what she wanted to do today. She's up 1.22%. She's back above all the moving averages. She did close above the 20-period moving average. Remember, things can change with the snap of the fingers. She can go back down to fill this gap right here. The close is 51.83, so that is an opportunity on the board. But right now, the financials are in a pretty decent spot. If there's nothing wrong with the financials, there's nothing wrong with the overall structure of the market. Last but not least, we got SMH shaking my head, the semiconductors. She's up 2.28%. Nice little update for SMH, and she continues to make new all-time highs. Tech industry is booming right now. She used 294.70 as support on the way back down. She went ahead and filled this unfinished business, the gap right here at 293.40, spiked it by a little bit, and then ripped it back in the other direction. So again, using this big time breakdown candle high as support. It's important both sides of the tape. Either way you look at it. We're above all the moving averages, so the trend is your friend, and she can still grind higher. Put a number up on the board. This is a big time overhead resistance area at 310. It's a big fat round number. And then you got the midpoint at around 305. Another big fat round number. So I would say that these numbers are overhead resistance. They are targets on the upside, and it's certainly a place where the market shouldn't just waltz right through. Write those numbers down and put them on a sticky note. Have I told you guys how much I appreciate each and every one of you? Without you guys, these videos or MSF would not be possible. That is true and accurate information. Put it on a sticky note. I'm going to pull the ripcord for today. Thank you all so much for tuning in for another episode of Common Sense Market Analysis. I'm Mini Frost. We'll be back ready to go in uniform for tomorrow's session and the video later that night. Enjoy the rest of the day, folks, and take care now.